Today we're making 3 different pie crusts to find out which one's the best. Today we're going to compare 3 different pie crusts, one from Bon Appetit, one from America's Test Kitchen, and one from Milk Street. All are very different from each other, and so let's look at the 3 together and find out which one's the best for the pie that you want to make. We're going to start with the simple one from Bon Appetit. It's 4 ingredients, all manual, no hardware needed. That's the simplest. Then we're going to follow it up with a pie crust from America's Test Kitchen, which uses a food processor and a special ingredient, vodka actually. And then third, we're going to try one from Milk Street. And this one's a new publication out of Boston. Christopher Kimball moved from America's Test Kitchen and started his own project. One of their new pie crusts is kind of interesting. It uses some special techniques and special ingredients that you don't normally see in pie crust making. So let's start with the simple one from Bon Appetit. Take 1 cup of flour, plus 2 tablespoons. A half a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of sugar. To that we're going to add 1 stick of butter. Very cold, so frozen is actually what they recommend. And according to them, it's not important how big the chunks are, so we're going to do it just like they did in their video. Cut it with the pastry scraper, and add the butter. Then they tossed it just to coat the butter to start with. And then they dumped the whole thing on their surface, started rolling it. So let's see how this goes. According to Bon Appetit, they say you'll know that the butter's the right temperature because it's going to be really hard to do anything with. It wants to stay in those chunks. They say you want to just keep working it. It looks like a big mess. According to them, that's okay. So as the butter sticks to your rolling pin, just scrape it off with your bench scraper. Kind of reincorporate it back in. I say it's going to look like a hot mess, and this does look like a hot mess, so we'll see how this comes together. Now we got something going on. Just be patient with it, keep rolling. You can see these chunks. It's the butter getting flattened out. That's going to add those flaky layers. This is one of those recipes you kind of just do on faith, huh? You're looking at saying, oh, this is not going to work. This is not going to be any good. You know, I bet it turns out in the end. I said that if you feel the need to flour the rolling pin, do it over the whole mixture. That way some of it gets on top of the dough as well. It's starting to hold on to itself. Good. Now we add 3 tablespoons of chilled ice water. One more roll up into it. So now, I think we have our pie dough. Bon appetit. Now this is going to go in the fridge. Now we're going to do the America's Test Kitchen or Cook's Illustrated recipe taken off of SeriesEats.com. This one's not too much harder, but it's got a special ingredient of vodka that helps to prevent the formation of gluten. I like to do my measurements with a scale, so we're going to start with that. Call for 12.5 ounces of flour, which is about 2.5 cups. To start with, you put about half of it into your mixer and combine it with the sugar and the salt. For this, we're gonna have 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now that the flour, sugar, and salt are in here, we can pulse it a couple times to mix. Done. To the flour mixture, we want to add 1.5 sticks of unsalted butter cut into 1/4 inch pieces. Drop them in evenly around the food processor so that they combine evenly as well. So we got the butter and shortening. I'm going to use lard. I like lard better than shortening, so I'm going to use lard. We need 1/2 cup of lard. I thought I had lard, I thought I had shortening, but I guess I'm out. So I'm going to go with some schmaltz that I made. This is chicken fat. And I'm okay with that because this is going to do a savory pie, sweet potato pie. All right, we added our butter. Now we're gonna add our lard or shortening or schmaltz in this case. This was chilled. Had it in the fridge. We're gonna process this for about 15 seconds to get it combined. You can see how it's starting to hold together there at the end. That's how you know when to stop. So then we scrape sides with a spatula. We're going to add the rest of our flour. Cover goes back on and we're going to redistribute it with about 4 or 5 pulses. Quarter cup of chilled vodka straight from the freezer. And 1/4 cup of water. We're just going to fold this all together. Now that it's starting to hold together, the water and the vodka, we're going to divide it into 2 portions, wrap it up, and get it in the fridge to chill. One. Now we're going to mark them. A for America's Test Kitchen. They're going right in the fridge. While these crusts are resting in the fridge, I want to take a minute just to talk about why the America's Test Kitchen recipe has you put in the vodka instead of just water. The rationale is that by splitting the mixture 50-50 with water and vodka, they'll prevent some of the gluten development that can lead to an overworked and overly tough crust. So this should help keep this crust light, flaky, and perfect. And you won't taste the vodka in the finished product because it's all going to cook off. We'll find out if this technique is any better than the other techniques that we're going to give a go. Now for the Milk Street recipe. This one starts off a little different because it has you mix the water with cornstarch and microwave it. And this is interesting. It's a technique that they took from Japanese milk bread. And the cornstarch should trap the water in a gel and help prevent that gluten from forming. So let's get this one started and see how it goes. Theoretically, this pie crust should roll out nice and evenly, nice and easy as well. Like Play-Doh is actually what they say. You should be able to roll it out very simply and actually handle it a lot easier than other pie doughs that get a lot stickier. Also, this recipe shouldn't shrink as much either, so we're gonna give this a shot and see how we like it. We start with 3 tablespoons of water. To that, we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of cornstarch and mix it together. Breaking up all the lumps, making sure it's all evenly dissolved here. Then we microwave this for 30 to 40 seconds, stirring it halfway through. You can see already, look at the texture of this, it's all gooey. It's gonna go in the freezer for 10 minutes to chill out. Okay, it's been 10 minutes and I wanna show you what the cornstarch mixture is gonna look like now. Basically a solid piece of this gel. All the liquid is trapped in the starch, so it shouldn't cause too much gluten development. Now we're gonna measure out our flour. Now the recipe calls for 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of flour. I like to use the scale, so 159 grams. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, now we process it for about 5 seconds just to combine all of that. All combined, we add our cornstarch. Now we want to pulse it in 5 times so it's uniformly combined. To that we add 10 tablespoons of butter, which is a stick and 2 tablespoons. So to add that in 1/2-inch pieces. And we want to also add 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Now just like with the America's Test Kitchen one, we want to pulse it together till it all combines. Alright, see how it, just like with the other one, it started to combine around the blade. That's how you know it's done. We're going to turn it out right onto the plastic wrap here to save some time. M for Milk Street, and it's going in the fridge. There you have it. That's the end of part 1. In part 2, we're going to be rolling out each of those crusts that we put in the fridge. For now, which one looks the easiest to you? Which one would you make so far? Which one do you think is going to be the winner? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll check back in part 2. Thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe and so you can get that part 2 and give us a like. Thank you so much. Have a great day.